Hello, my name is Margaret Adele, and please ignore the sounds of two men watching AEW in the background. I'm really hoping those sounds don't come through. But anyway, it is the beginning of a new month, therefore it is time to wrap up the previous month. But I've been rethinking how I want to do my channel wrap-ups because trying to talk in depth about like 12 books in one sitting is a lot to remember, and I have to rush through a lot of things. So I'm going to treat these less like wrap-ups and more like updates, meaning if I have discussed the book in another video like a review or a challenge, I'll mention it briefly here and then put the link in the description so anyone who is interested can go check those out. And what this will be more for is for the books that I haven't spoken of in other kinds of lists and stuff. Now I might talk about these books later, but just to make sure that like I'm still chronicling everything I'm reading and not taking 20 minutes for every wrap up, we're gonna go with this. So right out of the gate, in February, I was panicking because I had accepted way too many review books and I was getting really overwhelmed and I had to close, and I hate when I have to close. So I was like, okay, I need to get as many review books out of the way as possible. So I'm going to talk about all the review books I read this month, and there's a lot, I think 8, but right out of the gate, I read 2 in a day, and that sounds really impressive, I know, but it's not as impressive when you realize what I was reading. First up was Bedtime Stories from the Animal Kingdom by Andy Wilson. This is a children's picture book meant for ages 2 to 7. I also read Into the Ruined Lands by Jason Kilgore. This is a short fantasy short story in a greater universe. There are some other short stories in there, all about 2 girls who are risking the wilderness to find a plant that will save one of their younger sister from illness. The next day, I continued with my obsessively reading short stuff to try and catch up, and I read Life Minus Me by Sarah Coder. This is a novelette, and I'm not sure what the difference is between a novelette and a novella, but it is a novelette before the book Power Surge, also by Sarah Coder, all about a young half-angel who is trying to save a non-binary person who is thinking about committing suicide. Very dark, very depressing at times, but a lot of non-binary rep. Also books I read for review, Honor by Bernard Bertram. This is a high fantasy with an orc as the main protagonist with some troll friends along the way. Very dark, very gritty, and not exactly what I wanted from my orc protagonist books, but we're getting closer. I also reviewed Another Dead Intern by Joel Spriggs. This is a satirical fantasy noir all about a fairy and the human she's been stuck with trying to uncover a strange string of memory lapses and a strange new drug that it might be connected with. Up next, I reviewed The Exoskeleton Chronicles by Chad Decoteau. This is a schlocky sci-fi with an autistic protagonist, and it is on Voices, as the author has autism as well. It's one of the main reasons I really wanted to review it, because I'm looking for some more neurodiversity on my list. Very schlocky, a lot of giant bugs, one of them wears a cape, good fun time. The next review book is Scavenged by Scott Arbuckle. This is an alien sci-fi all about this young boy and girl in their teens who are kidnapped and experimented on by aliens called the Greys, and their decision to fight back. My last review book for the month of February hasn't actually gone up on my channel yet, but I did read it in February, and that is Genderqueer, A Story from a Different Closet by Alan D. Hunter. This will be going up after this video, but I'm hoping I remember to come back and put the link in the description, so if it's not there, I apologize, you can yell at me. Hi, Editing Margaret here. I totally forgot to actually talk about what this book is about. So Genderqueer is a fictionalized memoir all about the author's time through the 60s and 70s, dealing with gender identity issues and eventually coming to the conclusion that they are a gender invert, aka born with one set of stuff but identifying with another. And yes, I will try to get that review up as soon as possible. Alright, and we are finally to the books that I'm going to be discussing more in depth. I only have 4 non-review books for the month of February because, again, I was low-key panicking. And the first 2 are actually the first 2 in a series. This is Alien Taste and Tainted Trail, both by Wen Spencer. These are early 2000s sci-fi, and I love it because the covers do not at all show what the main protagonist is actually like. He looks so dramatic and dark, and he's actually an adorable soft boy. So these are the first 2 books in the Ukiah, Oregon series. This is a super sci-fi series all about a young man named Ukiah, Oregon, who was found as a feral child running with wolves by two with lesbians who then raised him. And right away when I saw actually the third book of this series in a thrift store, that's what drew me in the most. I was like, ooh, he's got gay moms. And it's awesome. They're delightful. I love both of his moms. But also this series revolves around him both solving short-term missing persons cases. He's a fantastic tracker, has almost supernatural abilities. And he must figure out exactly what he was before he was the feral child, what is his family background, and where do these strange abilities come from. Now, I'm not going to go too much in depth, but aliens are involved, and I love it because it has this super duper ultra sci-fi aspects with aliens and weird science and technology, but also there's a really strong found family substance to it. Yukiya's partner and the one who took him on him taught him how to be a private investigator. His name is Max, and Max is like a surrogate father to him, and the relationship between the two is adorable. I've also mentioned his gay moms, Lara and Joe. Love them. I also love that a book set in 2004 has gay rep. It was fantastic, and it's done very, very like respectfully, and it's awesome. And basically, the more the character list grows, the more the found family grows, and it's fantastic. And I can't really get into the plot because a lot of things are revealed really quick, and it gets really weird. These are not the books to read if you want low-key sci-fi. This is not that. But if you want like urban sci-fi with like, you know, shootouts and guns and like murders and all that cool urban crime stuff, but also aliens, I highly suggest you check these out. You're not going to find them in stores, but I found almost everyone on thriftbooks.com because I had to, because I read the third book in the series first. Because I'm me. Up next was a book that I kind of just plucked out of the many that I had downloaded off of BookBub, and that is Dark and Deadly Things by Kelly Martin. This is the first in a episodic series of ghost hunting. Elise Morgan was once on a very popular ghost hunting show called Dark and Deadly Things, but after her mother's death and discovering that her father had been planting evidence to fake ghosts, she decides to quit the show. And so she is sitting at home watching the live take version of it on Halloween as she watches something dark come up behind her father and the family he's trying to help. And when the family is found murdered, all except for her father, the other person on the Dark and Deadly Things team, and the eldest son of the family, her father is framed for the murder. Said eldest son then seeks out Morgan to find out what exactly happened to his family because he doesn't really believe that her father killed them. Abel is adorable and has some secrets of his own. Our protagonist is hysterical. I was like screenshotting parts of it and posting it onto like Twitter or like the Discord servers I'm a part of because it's very character driven and very voicey. It's told from Elise's point of view, and she is both actively trying to put up this tough front while also actively aware that she is not tough at all. And it's fantastic. And the twist at the end, yes, I wanted to punch a character in the face as bad, but it's rare that I want to punch a character in the face as bad. And moving forward, you can kind of see the episodic nature of things, and I can tell kind of where the whole plot will be moving, and I'm really excited about that. I also let the author know that I was reading it, and she was really excited about it too. And I love that aspect about indie books where I can actually have conversations with the authors that I'm, reading and be like, hey, your book is awesome. I just thought you should know. It's fantastic. But this is not a high priority series for me, unfortunately, because I've just got so many. But there's a lot of other books out in the series, so I'm definitely going to keep this one in mind the next time I want something spooky. And lastly, this book technically should have been a review book, but here we are. I read Mother Knows Best by Kira Peikoff. This was originally from a Bookish First raffle that I won 6 months ago. It came out in September, but I didn't review it before then, mostly because of where I was at the time and the content of it. This book revolves around a genetic experiment. Claire has lost her son to a mitochondrial disease that she carries, and that every child she has is pretty much guaranteed to have. And so she doesn't want to keep having kids if she's gonna watch them die. Well, this new geneticist says that he can actually switch some things around, basically splicing some other woman's mitochondrial DNA with hers so that the child is still mostly hers but won't carry her mitochondrial disease. Problem is that this procedure is illegal, and she ends up having to go on the run with the doctor. And the woman, his postdoc, whose actual DNA was used in this experiment, is pissed because she was left out to dry, and also she might be in love with him. So it's very schlocky as a thriller. I mean, most of the characters don't really act like characters, and I knew that I wasn't going to be in the right place to read this, even though I was interested in it, because when I originally received this, my husband and I were still actively trying for a child of our own before we had moved on to becoming foster parents. And I found out earlier that reading books like this, as I had attempted to earlier, while you're in the middle of your own fertility issues, is a really tough sell. This one was not without its faults. The biggest thing with these kind of books where it's all about, genetics and wanting to have kids is, okay, you can't have your kids safely, why not adopt? And the reason for not wanting to adopt is always stupid for me, and I know that might come across as harsh, but the whole thing is, well, I don't know that I could love a child that isn't biologically mine, always comes across as stupid, because then, congratulations, your love is based on genetics. How can you love your spouse? How can you love your in-laws? How can you love anyone that's not genetically related to you unless, you just don't want to admit that your love is conditional? That's a whole other thing. It was also schlocky in a lot of other ways. Like I mentioned before, our villain is so out of touch and so delusional, and she never read as a real person. But when I started reading this less for real things and more for the melodrama, then it got good. And fortunately, the one thing I liked is this is told in a non-linear style, so you both have flashbacks to the past when they are going through the process of making the child, and you get from the child's point of view as an 11-year-old girl. And I loved that. Abby was the best part of the book. She was the most likable character in the book, and she was pretty much most of the reason I kept reading it, and also the schlockiness. But the mother that was struggling, and I was like, oh no, I can't adopt because the child needs to be mine. Okay, screw off. Child needs to be all hers. She could have someone else's DNA in the child, but needs to be mostly hers, apparently. Regardless, really cute ending, super cute ending. Like they worked really hard for that HEA to the point where it didn't necessarily feel like it totally fit. But anyways, this is the most recent book I have read so far this year because it was published in September of last year. And gotta say, I'm not tempted to continue reading a lot of books from recent years just because I'm rarely tempted and this didn't really turn the tables. But I got it for free, so for getting it for free, pretty good read. And those are all the books that I read in the month of February. If you like this new shortened version, please let me know. I know a lot of other booktubers have kind of taken any kind of wrap up out of their channel entirely, but I don't want people to be required to watch every video I put out to keep up with my reading. I like these kind of, here's what I'm reading overall to catch up. So if you're interested in this, if you like this, let me know. Otherwise, I am still close to review requests because of my new Maximum March challenge. And I feel really bad about that, but I'm trying to make sure I'm in the right headspace and I'm okay. I'm working on changing my reading habits. So be prepared for an even shorter, a way shorter video next month. And with nothing else to say, I hope you have a wonderful day and a marvelous tomorrow.